Good evening. I am Samuel Frazier. My presentation this evening will be on the impact of secularism and secularization on chaplaincy. Based on my experience in chaplaincy, secularization didn't remove the need for God, it just changed how people talk about God. In chaplaincy within the fire service and urban ministry context, I have observed a noticeable decline in formal religious affiliations. Fewer individuals identify with a specific church tradition, yet in moments of crisis, trauma, and loss, the need for meaning, hope, and connection still remains. This reflects what scholars describe as movement away from institutional religion toward more individualized expressions of spirituality. On emergency scenes, I've learned that people don't always use traditional religious language, but their needs are still deeply spiritual. I've stood with individuals who didn't ask for prayer, but instead said, just stay with me. That request reflects a desire for presence, comfort, and grounding in the middle of chaos. One particular fire stands out. We responded to a residential structure fire with heavy damage. A family lost nearly everything. The homeowner stood there in silence, staring at what used to be his home. I approached him and simply stood beside him. After a few moments, he said, I don't even believe like that, but can you say something? That moment captured secularization in real time, not rejection of faith, but distance from it. These experiences confirm that while religious participation may decline, the human need for spiritual care does not disappear. Instead, it requires chaplains to engage people in a new and adaptive way. Secularism, which prioritizes non-religious values within public and institutional spaces, has a direct impact on my role as a chaplain. In the fire service, I'm expected to provide care that is inclusive, respectful, and appropriate for individuals of all belief. This means I cannot assume shared beliefs or rely solely on traditional religious expressions. Instead, I must be intentional in how I engage people. For example, rather than immediately offering prayer, I may ask, would you like a moment to reflect or talk? This approach creates space and respects personal boundaries. Secularism also shapes how chaplaincy is perceived within the institution. While mental health and peer support programs are widely recognized and supported, spiritual care is sometimes viewed as a secondary. As a result, chaplains must be proactive in demonstrating their value and relevance. However, secularism also presents an opportunity. It expands the scope of chaplaincy beyond denominational boundaries and encourages a more holistic approach to care. In crisis situations, individuals often wrestle with questions that go beyond the psychological questions that propose suffering and meaning. Why did this happen? How do I move forward? These are just emotional questions. They are spiritual ones. In this way, secularism does not eliminate the need for chaplaincy. Instead, it challenges chaplains to adapt their methods while remaining grounded in their purpose. I'll be honest, this shift challenged me at first. Coming into ministry, I thought effectiveness looked like preaching, quoting scripture, and being vocal about faith. However, chaplaincy in a secular environment has taught me that ministry is not always about what you say, it's about how you show up. I've had to learn how to be present without being pushy, how to listen without trying to fix everything, and how to represent God without always using explicit religious language. That stretched me, but it also grew me. Because now I understand that trust is the foundation of ministry. When people trust you, they open up. And that's where real care began. I also recognize that my background plays a significant role in how I engage people. Coming from a humble beginnings, a humble background, and serving over 20 years in the fire service has given me the ability to connect with individuals from all walks of life. I have learned how to read people, communicate in high stress environments, and meet individuals where they are, whether they are rooted in faith, question it, or disconnected from it entirely. That experience has become a bridge in my chaplaincy. It allows me to enter secular spaces with authenticity and credibility. Not as someone speaking at people, but as someone who understands people. In many ways, my life experience has also prepared me just as much as my theological training to serve effectively in this role. And if I can say it plainly, I'm not just trained for this. God has built me for this. Secularism didn't weaken my calling, it refined it. It taught me how to lead adaptively and meet people where they are without losing who I am. To remain effective in this secularized environment, chaplaincy must be both adaptable and grounded. First, I lead with presence before proclamation. Consistency builds trust. In the fire service, showing up on calls, in the stations, and during personal moments establish credibility and opens the door for deeper engagement. Second, I use language that invites rather than assumes, creating space for individuals to engage at their own level allows spiritual care to be accessible without feeling forced. Third, I embrace a holistic approach of care. Individuals do not separate their emotional, mental, and spiritual needs by addressing the whole person. Chaplaincy remains relevant in both religious and non-religious contexts. Fourth, collaboration is essential. Partnering with mental health professionals and peer support teams strengthens the overall care provided and reinforces the value of chaplaincy within the institution. Finally, I remain rooted in my care, my values. While methods may adapt, my foundation does not change. My faith informs my presence even when it's not explicitly spoken. At the end of the day, whether someone asks for prayer or simply asks me to stand with them, I'm prepared to meet that need because this is not confined to the church. This is ministry lived out in real time, in real moments, with real people. That is the end of my presentation. My references are, I'm trying to get his name right, Hilfetz and Grashow and Linsky, The Practice of Adaptive Leadership, Taylor, A Secular Age, Cadge, Preparing God, Religion in the Halls of Medicine, Fitchett and Nolan, Spiritual Care in Practice, Case Studies in the Healthcare Chaplaincy. That is the end of my presentation, and thank you for your time.